We've got some breaking news here at 6 o'clock. A shakeup at Tennessee State University. Its interim president says he is stepping down effective Friday. Dr. Robert Johnson's resignation comes amid a dire financial situation announced last month during a state board commission hearing. Our Sharon Dankwa joins us now live at TSU after hearing from university leaders today, as well as alumni. Sharon, Dr. Johnson was initially set to be the university's president, we know, for a year.
Yeah, Tracy, that's right. He took on the role back in July after former university president Dr. Glenda Glover retired in June. And now today, Dr. Johnson sent out a note to the students and to the university saying that he and the board of trustees did not align and were not on the same page as far as what to do with the university moving forward. Now, the university has been dealing with financial issues, and most recently, the state told them that they were out of money. 114 employees were recently laid off after Johnson was told he needed to make cuts. The Tennessee State University Board of Trustees sent out a statement on Dr. Johnson's resignation just a few moments ago. The board said Johnson made significant strides towards achieving financial stability and listed off some of his accomplishments over the past 4 months. They said Johnson contributed to the fundraising, getting emergency state funding, and creating university cost-cutting plans, and much more. Board members said that they wish Dr. Johnson the best in his future, and they plan to meet Friday morning to talk about filling Johnson's role. Now, some alumni of TSU reached out to me today saying that they were shocked to hear about Johnson's resignation, and that they were saying they expected him to stay for the next few months to help solve the university's cost-cutting and fundraising situation. Now, we'll hear more from other alumni and some current TSU staff members ahead at 10. Live in Nashville, Sharon Dankwa, WSMV.